that suck, but also whatever cooks. But if you give us too much shit, we'll just get pissed off and quit. So don't do it. It's time for Marvel Comics Spotlight Show, telling you everything that we know. It's time for Marvel Comics Spotlight Show. Let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Marvel Comics Podcast, episode 94. That's Legacy 594. I'm here with Matt. What up, Matt?
What up, Jim?
What is up is we're going to talk about what we know and don't know, but we won't mention the Dark Phoenix saga because the dudes over there at the Weird Dose of X, they mentioned last week that they never read that, and people flipped out. So there you go. We're not going to mention if we read it or not.
It is a perennial favorite for the X-Men fans.
And so when we get into this, I will tell everybody that we have read every issue of both the books that me and you are going to talk about. So take that.
Yes.
Take that, Weird Dose of X, which in a roundabout way, you always say save that for the X-Men podcast.
Oh, no.
But lo and behold, you're going to be on the X-Men podcast this week, because Jason is going to be away, possibly chasing birds or something like he does. And you're going to be joining Ruben with the Marvel Weird Dose of X. So you can give him crap. You can say, listen, at least somebody who's an expert and has read the Dark Phoenix saga is now going to be recording with you. And the main person who ended up saying it, I wish I could find the comment, but did say, I love you guys, but seriously, you guys have never read it. And I ended up saying, well, they do say they're new fans. And I didn't even look to see. The response to that would be, it doesn't matter what fan you are. You still should read the seminal, as they say, stories of the X-Men deal. But that's for them. That's for them. Maybe not as quite a deep dive or learned as we thought. Is what.
Well, if you want to know about the Krakoa, they're pretty much experts on that.
Yeah, well, I think that Jason and Ruben would say that they're more just into the newer current books, which is
Yes.
It's sad. That might be sad because here we are with some newer and current books. And anything Cook anymore? I don't know. But we have two books, me and you are going to talk about. One being the end of our favorite book at Marvel, and lo and behold, if you would have asked us 3 years ago, what would be your favorite book? And we told you Spider-Boy, probably wouldn't believe it, but
No.
that's what it's been.
Yep.
We have really enjoyed it. It's had its ups and downs at points. I didn't love it at one point. It kind of had a lull after that first arc, but it got better. And now, sadly, it's ending at a point where we were having fun. We had fun with that fighting tournament. You had the gaping maw that ends up becoming part of this issue. And this issue just pretty much throws almost everything in, including by the end, the money that Peter is owed. That's how they actually realized that Peter remembered the past, if you remember. But also the Dr. Helio, which you liked when he first came up. He's okay. And we even have somewhat of a resolution with Hell If I Know, which was okay. I think they should have just figured out how to get him
Just
to be
save
a regular
him,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, just save him. You don't need to make him Captain Pachyderm. I mean, what does that do? The kid's still a freaking rhino / elephant.
Yeah.
You don't want that. Thing's crapping all over. But we did end up getting the toy soldier, who we like.
I did like that, yeah.
And lo and behold, Christina's deadbeat dad finally gets a job. But it has to be handed to him.
It's weird, too, because it just seemed temporary to me.
Yeah.
Like he's a temp worker more than anything.
To me, he's a temp because he's a jerk and he's going to get fired. He's always bitching and moaning. But
He didn't look very happy.
No, he didn't. He was already like bitching, and nothing's good enough for that guy. You know that's the guy who they'll give him a job, they'll even make a position, then suddenly he'll be like, well, at my old job, I used to be able to take, a 2-hour lunch. He's probably got issues with every single thing.
His old job, you mean sitting on the couch all day?
Well, that was his other old job. Remember we talked. Did they say that? I guess he was like a carpenter / construction guy in his old.
I guess. I mean, they gave him supervisor position here, and I think that's a little too much for him, given his work experience.
I'm telling you, I think they just made up a position
Honorary.
for him. Everybody's supervisor. He's like, who are you a supervisor of? Well, you, maybe your daughter. That's about it. Not his wife though. But we're going to get into this and. The second book we have, boy, if we talk more than 10 minutes about the Spider-Man Wolverine book, we've done something incredible.
It's like punch, web, punch, stab,
moly.
end.
I did like it, but my God.
Cool.
The art's good. If the art wasn't good, boy, there'd be some problems.
Uh-huh.
But here we go. We're going to start with Spider-Boy. Spider-Boy number 20. It is the finale. It is written by Dan Slott, art by Paco Medina, color art by Eric Arcienega, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. I'll read the very quick recap here. Full circle, chapter 3, with a little help from my friends, a little Beatles reference. After being saved from Madam Monstrosity by Spider-Man half-human, half-spider Bailey Briggs, started a new era of his life as the superhero Spider-Boy, eventually emancipating Monstrosity's other half-animal prisoners, the Humanimals. After Bailey endangered himself and innocence while fighting Mr. Negative, thus breaking the no A-list villains rule, Spider-Man decided Spider-Boy's superhero days were over. So we get into this. There's a lot of like meta, hey, let's make fun of things. Like one of the things to give you an explanation, or at least how this is that you end up having Bailey and Peter tug-of-warring with his costume. He says, I'm taking your costume. And at one point, Bailey goes, why don't you just dramatically throw it into a trash can and walk away? It's like, all right, I get it. It ended up being a weird play in this issue that became a little bit more goofy and a little more meta than we've had before. So it kind of threw me, but it's okay. If you read the series, I think you'll like this. You do have a lot of things. And I'm not going to say you're going to like it because it ties everything up tightly. I think you're going to like it just because you see a bunch of characters that we saw before. That's how I liked it. I didn't end up saying, oh my God, this is the tightest story, or oh my God, that's really smart. It just was fun. It ends up being fun. Plus, we can make fun of Christina's dad. It's always fun. Also, we're never getting rid of that feast. Me and you want to take it down. All of a sudden, it's like a trendy nightclub. It looks like it's being turned into
they're
now.
Upgrading it.
Oh
Just put it to rest.
And the funny thing is that feast with Aunt May, it's always something there in Amazing Spider-Man to cause trouble for Peter and Aunt May. So what are they going to do now? Like, this is Dan Slott pretty much saying, okay, feast problem's done. Because remember at one point in Amazing Spider-Man, Peter was supposed to get a check from Norman and never did during the 8 deaths.
Yeah, it's either blowing up or it's a chore that Peter has to do, which annoys him more than anything.
He always needs to get money for it. He's got to ask
do this,
do
that.
Yeah, so this might put an end to it because Bailey seems to have given a lot of money and effort into it, even though the Gaping Maw, who we do see, he's still controlling. They do disappear, though. The way that Dan Slott thinks he ties that up, they are leaving to murder. That's all I could think of. The idea that they're going and walking around murdering people. But Bailey ends up saying, listen, I had it all under control. I like where Peter says, a C+, like really throwing shade at Bailey. Poor Bailey. How do you expect him to do well in school? The guy was missing, out of time for all that bit. That was in Marjaport. When is he going to school?
Have we seen him in school at all? I don't even think so.
Twice.
Twice?
Remember that one girl kind of liked him and liked Spider-Boy, but that we don't really get much of anything of that because it ended. So he ends up at the one point saying the reason why everybody was safe is because the Gaping Maw, the ninjas, or Tong, as we'll go back and forth with, Daredevil and Peter, they were watching to make sure. And it's actually a pretty good play because that's what they kind of done. That's what they did in Marjaport. At points, remember when you were going to have the kids fight?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they realized, these guys were watching us, and they jumped in. So they're very good at hiding and protecting people without them knowing. That's fine. The problem is they're an evil organization and they really want to do evil stuff. But it almost reminds me when they say to him, listen, we don't want to be mean or anything. And, you do control us because you won the tournament. But eventually we're going to get sick of you and we're probably going to kill you.
Yeah, we'll listen to you for a while, but eventually we'll stab you in the back.
Straight up reminded me of Homer and the Stonecutters when Lisa convinces him to do good things and they're like, yeah, we don't want to do this. We want to drink beer and do nothing. So they end up saying that eventually the solution then is to just let them roam the earth free to murder is what I think. Bailey says, I demand that you be good, but they're already telling him at the beginning that they're not really going to listen to him eventually. They don't like doing good things, and they're going to get pissed off eventually and just kill him. So off they go to murder. But in the meantime, Spider-Man is still pissed off. Bailey says, "Screw you." And that's where he says, give it to the new kid, give it to a new kid, his costume. Throw it dramatically into a trash can. It's too much. You don't need him to say that as if he knows.
Unless Peter
comic book
told him
stuff.
a story or something.
It just ends up, though. It's like if Peter's sitting around like, and then one time I said Spider-Man no more, and I threw that in the trash can in the alley and walked away dramatically. That's too much.
It's
Dan Slott, I think, is trying to have too much fun at the end of this, which, again, it's not bad. It just made my eyes roll. And then Daredevil comes in because Peter seeks him out and says, "Hey, how dare you end up taking my sidekick to Marjapur?" I mean, going against Bullseye. The idea that Peter's upset that they took on Mr. Negative. I mean, they took on Bullseye. That's way worse.
Way worse.
Yeah. So when he goes to confront Matt, him and Matt then, but then they get caught in this idea of, hey, he has this bunch of ninjas. Well, ninjas are actually, and then the plural of ninjas, ninja. Yeah. And ninjas are Japanese. So these are actually Tong from China. And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. But it's a little too much.
Semantics.
Everything is a little too much. And it's like goofy fun, but not goofy fun that we kind of need here. I more goofy fun you need from Spider-Boy, but they go to find him and then said, well, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to tell his mom. Man, I wouldn't. And both of them are like, if they told my mom, and Peter's like talking about his mom, hopefully he means Aunt May, because again, we'll talk about his mom in the next issue. But yeah, Daredevil like, oh man, my mom would be pissed. She's a nun. I'm like, all right, you're going a little too far again. But there is a funny part.
Yeah, I like
where
this part.
Daredevil ends up like, what's the deal? And Spider-Man's like, well, usually a Spider-Boy adventure would be this. And you end up where Bailey picks up a shoe, he gets a premonition, and it's this villain, which may be the best villain.
Card Shark.
Card Shark, who is a shark with a big aces card on him, a playing card. That's pretty funny. And even that, in the talking of Peter telling the story, is that Bailey wants to learn to play the sousaphone. And so with an evil ninja army, he's able to send them to pretty much kill Card Shark, who looks great. That's a really cool concept.
Uh-huh.
It's King Shark with the Royal Flush Gang.
And Jeff the Land Shark.
Yeah, and Jeff
mixed
the Land
in.
Shark. So it's like a really cool idea here at Marvel. But you end up where, okay, I'll get the ninjas, they kill Card Shark, and then I learn the sousaphone. But without that, he would, just be able to kind of help him and whatnot. So it's too much to have. It's basically saying Bailey can't have a ninja army or Tong army. And so they agree. And then we see Bailey go. And again, you have one issue to do this, so it's not very quick.
And it's not even oversized either. It's kind of like a couple extra pages.
That actually shocked me.
Yeah.
So you go and the Gaping Maw are doing Bailey's bidding, but they will kill him eventually. And they're not really into it. So this could have actually gone a little further with the idea of Bailey saying, okay, now we're going to do this. And the Gaping Maw thinking, all right, like we're going to do this evil? No, that's not evil. Like we're going to help. Oh, I thought we were going to blow up Feast. Like they could have played that more. In that instead, it's just very quick to know that the Gaping Maw are bad. Bailey's a good kid, even though he's sitting on that throne as if he's,
Or they also say, welcome, Lord Spider, to your new subterranean lair. He goes, lair? That's a little sinister. Yeah, okay, hidden temple. Nah, too religious-y. Secret fortress? How about headquarters?
Headquarters. They're like, okay. And then they give him this new outfit because he got his outfit taken. And it's upgraded.
Yeah, I like the outfit, and I didn't know this lady was a part of the Gaping Maw. I thought she was just a representative or something.
Yeah, she was the one who was like the head before.
So you get her too, huh?
Yeah, she's just hanging, but she likes to do evil shit. So she's like, and they're laughing it up and ha-ha-ing, but Bailey isn't that bad.
He's sitting on the throne like Conan.
I said he's like Conan or Caligula. I'm surprised they're not feeding him grapes. But then the whole thing is to make you think, but we don't think that he's going to go bad. But you're kind of going with that.
It's like superior Spider-Man kind of.
Yeah, and so at the point when Spider-Man and Daredevil are like, we better find him, oh my God, everything that they go and think is bad, like party buses, it's not bad because Bailey gets the one guy who we were all confused with, but the guy who was part earthworm, part guy, he ends up being, separated. So you end up where he is getting everybody back to normal, except everybody there. Like Mr. Cricket. Now, are they going to get changed back? Because
I think everybody but Helifino gets changed.
Yeah, that's what seems. Now, in the meantime, I kind of like Mr. Squeakerton.
And also a Boy Spider. We don't want him to change either.
Yeah, and Boy Spider is like very not in this issue.
He's just hanging out for a second.
Yeah, he's just hanging. And Helifino's upset and like, why can't you help me? And because he's two animals and a person, they've never tested the machine on that. But he says, instead of that, I made you a superhero. Because it's weird where his buddy is now going to be a hero, Captain, Pachyderm. And then Bailey right away is, can I be your sidekick? I was like, aren't you? Why not be just a hero?
He just likes a sidekick situation.
Yeah, he does like the sidekick deal. I guess you don't have as much responsibility. But Captain Pachyderm likes it. And then they go off and everybody's going to fight that Dr. Helio. That's one of the bigger things in it. And when you do get it, you even get, what's her name? Hulkette. You get Spider-Girl.
Miss Marvel.
You get Miss Marvel. Everybody that was in the book, except I didn't really see Squirrel Girl, who was the one who was there when they originally fought Captain Helio.
Yeah, where is she?
Yeah, and I think I know she's on the cover. I'm surprised. She was actually the one who was hanging out with Bailey when they had that big parade. I like that they're knocking these stupid people in the costumes off and they can't fly. And really all that Dr. Helio wants to do is make everybody in New York City sound like him and talk like they're inhaling helium. So it's just funny. And he's doing his stuff and he's doing some good. So they end up, and even there, you even get reference where Miss Marvel's like, hey, don't throw your crazy spider rangs and use your barbed wire thing, Spider-Girl. And she's like, oh, man. So it's okay. It's okay. And Captain Pachyderm gets to do his thing. He looks okay, pretty cool. But that's where everybody kind of gathers up on the rooftop. And Peter has to admit, okay, you're doing okay, but you can't have this crazy evil army. So that's when he says, hey, Gaping Maw, you can go wander the earth like Kane from the show Kung Fu, but do good. Stay in the shadows and do good. I'm like, they are like, we're going to leave here and murder. But hey, it's not on him. But one of the big plays is the toy soldier, who we did like. I wish we got more of him. And so he ends up saying, hey, I have all the powers of any Avenger ever, which includes Spider-Man, so I know that he's proud of you. It's fine.
He could have been the sidekick,
Yeah, I really like the toy set. At first I didn't, and then I was like, that's a pretty cool play. Like all the Avengers powers, and he morphs into the little guy. But he comes back for this. But again, some of the things that are tied up or aren't, there is still Boy Spider. We end up where we don't think Christina's dad's going to have the job for very long, but they have an apartment right next to Bailey, so that's cool. And it just ties up everything to say, hey, if Bailey wants to continue, he can. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But with Dan Slott gone, there's no series. So it's okay. And then at the end, you tie it all in where Peter and Bailey are going to go patrol. And they said, can we have ice cream later? I'm buying. And then Peter says, you still owe me $20, which the $20 was when he actually said that to Bailey. That was the moment that kind of broke the time displacement deal down. He said, oh my God, you remember me now. And that's when he remembered. So it ties up okay. Kind of wish Boy Spider would have been there and his mom and stuff like that. I'm telling you, Boy Spider is like the missing element in this issue, but it's okay. It's done.
I would recommend they do not use them in anything else. I think just
Boy Spider.
Oh no, Spider Boy.
Oh yeah, I hope not.
Very limited, and Dan Slott can do like a 6-issue thing every couple years or something.
Yeah, and we were talking about. I said if you get anybody, maybe Christos Gage. He did
Christos Gage
issues,
could do
he
it.
Always does the Dan Slott stuff, but in the meantime, I wouldn't. I hope that what we don't get is, here's, the round 2. If it's not Dan Slott, I wouldn't.
And you need Paco Medina too. He's great.
Yeah, they're both the deal. I mean, right away, me and you didn't like Spider-Girl because it feels like you're pushing it too much.
You're pushing it too much, definitely. And Marvel always does, and we're not. And to expect anything differently is kind of insane.
And the thing is, the Spider-Girl, there's no reason that Spider-Girl should have a series. She wasn't that well. I mean, she was bad. Becoming good would have been something that could have developed in this book, but as a solo deal, it just doesn't make sense to me and just makes me think they don't want to right away get another Spider-Boy because Dan Slott's going, but they probably will eventually, and they'll kind of screw it up.
No, the Spider-Girl that we got in this one panel, one line is all we need. You don't need any more.
I like Spider-Girl enough, but not enough for a solo series.
No, but pop up with him. I think, and I'm sure we'll read if there's a new Spider-Boy, we'll read it, but I'm not going to be compelled to read it if I don't like it. I'd rather just have this in my memory, and that's it.
I'm with you. So what would you give this?
I'd give this one, I'm sad to see it go. We said for the past 3 or 4 issues now, I'd give this one an 8.5.
I'm giving an 8. So you're an 8.5, I'm an 8. And I thought it was fun, and it's one of those issues that if you've read every issue, you kind of get a couple smiles.
It's a good payoff
chuckles,
at the end.
And you're like, okay, you see a bunch of people, and it ties things up enough. So I liked it. I liked the series. I thought it was way better than I thought it was going to be. Ended up being one of our favorite books. So you get that now. We'll move on to the next book, which I don't think is going to become one of our favorite books. But boy, if you want to get through something quick, and that's the thing, if you're buying this, you might have, it's only $3.99. There's not a lot of $3.99 books, and it looks great. But if you're buying it, you might be upset. But when you're doing a podcast and you have to read stuff,
it's great.
It's like it's a godsend. You're like, oh my God. Like, that's the thing. If you do end up, and people who listen to us, there's a lot of people who have podcasts. It's the best when you end up having to read something. You're like, it only took me like 3 minutes to read, and we're going to talk about this quick. We can get the hell out. So with that, it's Spider-Man Wolverine #2. And right away, you ended up saying, hey, Spider-Man Wolverine, we'll do that. And I'm like, okay. And I swear to God, even though a lot of them are Daredevil Wolverine, these all swirl together. So I did not know which one, what you were taught. And then I looked, I go, oh, yeah.
You already forgot. I forgot about it, too.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, this one was pretty cool. And
I mean, we liked it, definitely.
Remember, the first one we liked, but really it was the cliffhanger because not a ton to happen up till then. But once you get the cliffhanger of Peter watching the surveillance camera, seeing that Wolverine killed his parents, we're like, holy crap, that's a huge cliffhanger. What we get here is a lot of fighting. I'm telling you, I'll give you the credits, and the credits that we're going to give might be half of the review because it's Spider-Man Wolverine #2, Mark Guggenheim, writing, art by Kari Andrews, colors by Brian Reber, letters by VC's Travis Lanham. The art's great. The art is superb, as they say. It looks great. Sometimes it actually, I got a little confused, but it didn't matter because it was just a big fight. We saw that Peter watched the surveillance where it does look, and Wolverine can't deny it. It looks like he killed Peter's parents, who he knows that and says in this Red Skull set out the hit, but he never knew who really did it. And he's like, oh my God, it must have been the idea of Wolverine working with Red Skull at this time. He actually confronts Wolverine, and Wolverine says, dude, I don't remember, but I was bad at one point. I wasn't myself, and I ended up doing something. Now, Wolverine tries to say to Peter, listen, we've been screwed up by Mysterio, so how are you believing this? I'm like, I don't know if watching a surveillance camera deal really goes with that there, Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're pushing it. I think you did it, but you did it when you weren't yourself. But he says, and he could lie. He says, I don't know. Everything from that time period is really wonky in my head. I don't even like to think about it because it gets me all wonked out. But, I remember a couple, and I remember a plane, and I remember a crash. And what happens in this, I wish that they even reference. I wish they had glasses on because it's the They Live fight from the movie. They fight, stop for a second. Wolverine says something to piss Peter off again, and they fight again. And that's the whole issue. That's it.
Yeah, and Wolverine, I think, is just being a little... I'm not Wolverine. Spider-Man's being kind of an asshole with this.
Yeah, he won't stop because, again...
He won't talk about
Spider-Man has done some things... Every hero in any comics that has been around a while has been mind-controlled, has been messed with, and Wolverine has times 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy, his basic whole premise is that he's been brain wiped so many times.
It's like asking the Winter Soldier, "What'd you do in World in the Cold War or in the
all of
80s?"
a sudden you get some, you ended up killing my dad in '83. And
Yeah,
you're
he
like,
wouldn't
whatever.
know.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't do it. And you'd almost, I mean, you could still be pissed.
Yeah,
you might have to.
It wasn't anything personal from Wolverine. He was just doing a job, and they were two anonymous people that he killed.
So usually, what happens in this is the idea of, well, that was when I was, not myself. I was a villain. I was controlled. And then you go, okay, well, it sucks, but I'm sorry. But they just keep fighting. They keep fighting, and then they'll stop, and then Peter will be like, "So, like, did you do it?" Wolverine will go, "I don't know. I remember a couple." A plane, it was you, and then they fight again, and then ends up where Peter at one point, like his epiphany is, you have a healing factor, so you probably survived the crash. Well, no shit, obviously he did, but yeah, he ends up seeing all that, and again, Wolverine says it might be Mysterio. Peter says no, he was knocked out, and I was watching this thing. Now, we may end up seeing later that it was a residual deal, but I just think that the play is that we said before, we think that there's going to be some missing footage, and we'll find that Wolverine was there to stop somebody else.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, say he's fighting Sabretooth, right?
Yep.
Their fight caused the act. I still think that he was, kind of responsible, but responsible in a way that he was probably fighting somebody. They broke the plane open and then everything happened.
There's more to this.
Yeah, there definitely will be. But by the end, like, it is a crazy play to think of the idea that this whole issue is just a fight. We better get a little more story, because that's two issues where we had weird Mysterio stuff and not much going, and then this one's just a fight. But even in the fight, all of a sudden Wolverine gets all wacky. Everybody's, being crazed up. At one point, he looks like Venom. It's a crazy deal.
There was one page, maybe 13 in my thing here, when he knocks his jaw off.
Yeah, that's when
I was like, what is going on?
And then with his tongue hanging out, I'm telling you, it looks like
pretty
Venom.
Gruesome.
And so Wolverine keeps saying, do you think that, I mean, you can do all this because he has a healing factor, but do you think all of this is coming, like, is it really happening, or are you still saying that it's a mistake? Because it seems like it's really happening, right?
I think it's really happening.
But by the end, though, Spider-Man starts getting really and then gets run through. So I don't know. It looks like he kills Spider-Man by the end.
Spider-Man's dead.
I mean, at points too, Spider-Man's getting his arm ripped off and all.
Yeah, he slashes his back too.
Oh
really
my God! Like I don't know how this could be going on, especially with running him through. So I just don't know. But if I'm telling you, we've done this enough. We get next issue or the issue after, and all of a sudden we're told that you're going to lose your mind because you hate that. Oh, it was a dream
sequence. Oh, I hate that.
It was, and he was drugged out. He wasn't seeing. So we better not get that, because you could have this fight and still play it out. And if you were going to say, well, it's cool, Carrie Andrews gets to do a lot of stuff, but if it ends up being, well, they're actually in Bacta tanks and they're playing this out, I'll lose my mind.
It's confusing because the next issue has Spider-Man crossed out on the cover, and then they're in the Savage Land with black costume and brown costume Wolverine. So that's different.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But again,
maybe the time frame changes.
Remember what last issue was the idea of Spider-Man going through Weapon X stuff while Wolverine was going through Spider-Man stuff.
Oh yeah, they reversed roles.
Yeah, they reversed roles, and so I kind of forgot about that at the beginning. So then when I'm reading, I'm like, is this happening? Or is it, because if it isn't, I'm going to get mad. I know you will. I even thought right away. But
I give it a little bit of leeway when it comes to Mysterio, though, because I recognize that's his power. So it's a little different.
It feels like you're gone past that now, so we'll have to see. But it's brutal.
It gives you an excuse to see a brutal fight.
It's brutal as
hell.
Like
what they would do if they didn't have any restraints.
Yeah, so I think that it might be that. But in the meantime, the big play, me and you don't buy the issues. We get the review copies. So I've said this from day one, if I'm doing a show, I'm not going to harp on the cost of an issue because I feel like that's not my thing. I feel like I'm kind of, lying a bit because I didn't. So I'm just going with the idea. But I will tell you, I think some people might be upset if they end up buying this and it's $3.99. But just going through it, the fight's cool. It's over the top. You get done this in 3 minutes. It's not bad because what could be bad? There's not enough, I think, to be bad, but that might be the bad thing. But I still liked it.
This is Mark Guggenheim saying to Kari Andrews, draw the most gruesome fight you possibly can between these two idiots, and I'll fill in the blanks.
It feels like what they did with Hickman and Capullo, but that didn't work out that well. This feels like it's that same play. I'm going to give you the opportunity to draw whatever the hell you want. Yeah, let them cook. And like you said, maybe it's even being done the Marvel method, though. I'd love it if Kari Andrews sent the art back to Mark Guggenheim and he's like, okay, the script's going to have, because at one point you do get that for page after page. And then at one point I'm like, another page? Man, how long is that? We're done. But it was cool. And the art's incredible.
There's a split page where Wolverine's half of his head and half of Spider-Man's head. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yep, it looks cool.
It should have been the cover.
And again, you know what this kind of reminds me of? But the story isn't that wacky because there's not much of a story. But it does remind me of that Joe Kelly, that WW3, that Wolverine Deadpool deal that we couldn't even read, but the art by, I think it was Kubert was really
Kubert.
Really
good. That was. Yeah. This is a little more coherent story than that was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At least we have something that we're kind of interested in. I still don't know what that Joe Kelly book was about. Oh my God! Remember like that crazy Eyes Wide Shut bunch of people in the mansion,
people watching stuff on video screens and taking bets and stuff.
I like this a little better. Though my score will be affected by the idea that there is no story in this issue.
If I were buying comics, which I haven't in 20 years, I would buy probably this and probably a couple of the variant covers, depending on what they're. I would buy more. I like how it looks. So. Yeah.
So what would you give it?
I'm going to go 8.5 on this one, too.
I'm going to go 7. No, I'll go 7.5. I could even go with 8. 8 is like what would be book of the week and how we set that up.
I get it. Yeah.
And so I could, though, because
read the other 3 issues with Gray and then reevaluate
I'm saying it. This is one of those. It's better than most of the stuff that I read at Marvel.
That's what I look at it too. Yeah, it's a good old fashioned action comic book. Yeah, there you go.
We'll be positive for once, but if you are buying it, you might go a little lower because of the money factor. But it is only $3.99. I think the art's worth it. I think it's really.
There's
really
even
cool.
A page where they're fighting, and then there's 2 little Spider-Man and Wolverines fighting at the bottom, doing other stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Kind of like Mad Magazine style.
Yep. Yeah, like a flip book kind of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy, cool. Man. Yeah.
Again, maybe it's something that you might want to wait to the trade, though, for the cost-wise. But in the meantime, that's fine. Like I said, everybody has their own ways of reviewing and what is important. So I think the art's great in this. And I'm not really an art guy. And
you know what it is, too? Awesome. I would mention the colors are really good. Even on this review copy, this guy, Brian Reber, I don't know what he's doing, but the colors are nice.
He's doing it right.
He is.
But that's that. This is probably one of the quickest 2 books we've ever done, mainly because of this one. But hopefully people check this out. But with that, thanks, Matt, for joining me. I don't know what me and Gray are talking about just yet, but hopefully we'll be going off to him right about now. And we'll continue on with my man, Gray. What up, Gray?
Hey, Jim. How you doing? Are you genki?
No, I'm burning hot. It's so hot. It's not as hot as what I was doing earlier. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
I knew it.
How hot it was while we were doing that first section. It was unbelievable, but it's a little better right now. But are the books better?
It's hot as hell and humid as heck over here.
Yeah. I like that the humid gets the heck, but the hot gets the hell. Here we are. We have a couple books because we might actually do this in a couple sections here. But we're going to start with, I don't know, this book, Predator versus Spider-Man. I don't hear anybody talking about it. I don't know. I'm not down at the rec center. They don't really talk.
Do you know what? I don't even remember last issue, Jim. I've forgotten issue 2. This is issue 3, isn't it?
And it's only a 4-issue thing. When it got to the end and said to be concluded, I'm like, really? Did it start? Because that's the problem. When you don't remember all the other issues because nothing is really happening, I guess it's not great.
Crikey.
Written by Benjamin Percy. Pencils by Marcelo Ferreira, inks by Jay Leiston, colors by Frank Del Marta, letters by VC's Clayton Coles. It is issue 3. And you set up the deal. I said right away that it was an odd play, that we know that it's a predator, but you're going to play it that it might be a serial killer. then you end up having this crazy tension built kind of artificially with the power out, but that really didn't do much. The only thing it seems is what Ben Percy keeps doing with the power out and things like that is just so people can't say, well, why didn't they do this? Or why didn't they go online? Or why? It's just odd because it's not really doing much for the story.
No,
in the meantime, I thought from the beginning it felt like Do the Right Thing, where everything was hot in New York. Everybody's pissed off. Like, you don't even see that with the whole idea of New York City. People would be in the streets beating the crap out of each other and looting and whatnot. But instead, they're just inside, maybe afraid of a serial killer that's actually a predator.
I don't remember. I remember like the Craven, and the last thing I remember is like Mary Jane being in the underground.
Yeah, in the underground,
like,
in the
subway. Power going out, and like that's the last thing I remember.
And then she has her new best friend that's with her that I don't remember her name, and they meet up with a homeless guy. There's like the idea of if somebody said, well, what's going on in this book? I mean, it's Predator, Spider-Man. Well, Jay Jonah, he's making a fake newspaper kind of thing. They got the printing presses going because they had a generator. Like, is that exciting? Mary Jane's stuck in the subway with a girl who's claustrophobic, but seems to have lost that. And because I'm telling you, walking through the subway would make you claustrophobic as well down in the underground. But she's kind of lost that. That was just for a moment. And they meet a homeless guy who knows where the Predator has his lair. That's not that exciting.
And there are three new predators like hunting the weird one.
And that's the big one. And the way that I'll go with it to try to make it somewhat better for me and you is that, like Usagi Yojimbo, this predator that's on Earth, he's a Ronin. He doesn't have a clan. He ends up being the solo guy stuck on Earth and ends up just causing problems. He seems off. He seems like
he looks a bit weird too, Jim. I think that's why I don't like him. He's got a weird face.
So the three that are coming down to get him, they're offended because, look, we have the honor, but Usagi Yojimbo's awesome. This isn't. But they're going to take care of the predator that's now called the Skinner, not Principal, but the Skinner. And really, if you go with this play, the real way that this could all be solved pretty easily is to get out of the way of these three predators, and they'll go round up this guy, and they'll be gone.
Leave them to it. They'll sort it all out for you.
Yeah, and now you don't know that's happening, but legit, that's what would be the great solution here. Is you would end up saying, "Let those three take that guy and get out of here." They have no concern for Earth. They seem, but again, that doesn't make a good Spidey story. So again, Ben Percy, he keeps having to add these little things like, oh my God, these three predators, they're up for a little game of, chase. They're up for a little sport. Why? They're there to get this predator. This is just, I know it's the nature of the predator deal, but it's just everything is like, let's get Spidey involved, but we're going to have to force our way. At the one point at the beginning, he gets involved in a crime scene to get pictures and then release them, which he never should be arrested. And also, by the way, that detective shows up again. Anybody know her? You know what I mean? Like, there's the other.
They dropped out of the sky.
I love that she just like shows up out of nowhere and goes to Jay Jonah, like, "Hey, buddy, trouble follows Peter Parker."
I think she was beamed up by Storm.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you're beamed down the way he goes. You know how he is. He's sus. You end up. So we get into this, and they're at the Daily Bugle. All the power's out. Jay Jonah and Peter just waltzing around. And Peter says, I got to tell you more about this, because he says, I got to get going.
Yeah.
I got to do something. He's got to Spider-Man it up, but he's got to get away from Jay Jonah, and says, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get out of here. Jay Jonah, who's in an empty newsroom, has no power, prints out this stupid newsletter that he has now, goes, what are you talking about? This is a great news cycle. I'm like, yeah, but you don't really, I mean, he was selling the paper at one point, but at this point, it's like midnight. Who's selling papers? So Peter's like, no, I think I know.
Handing it out for free, Jim, on street corners.
Yeah, exactly. Now, remember at one point he was selling it for like $10. Just because the lights are out and there's no power, doesn't mean people are going to buy a newsletter for $10. They'd probably wipe your butt with it. Peter says, well, Jay Jonah says, this is a hot news cycle, as hot as it comes. And Peter says, exactly. And I need to show you something that could be our next headline. Now, in my mind, it seems that he's talking about aliens. Like,
yeah,
predators.
I thought, because then we jumped to the predators, the three of them. It's like, okay, this is what I just want to show you. No.
Can you imagine, Peter, for the Daily Bugle headline, alien predators hit New York City? People are he's a laughing stock. Nobody's going to believe this stuff. So he ends up going, these predators then smash into the Daily Bugle for no reason but to just.
Why are they going to the Bugle, Jim?
I don't know. It shows at the end that what they're doing then is to try to find the crazy wall, the conspiracy wall. But why would they know it's there?
I know.
Why would they know to go there? Right? It's odd. I mean, if anything, the homeless guy and they start talking. Craven starts talking later and says, okay, I get it. The predator will be underground. Wouldn't these predators know that? Wouldn't they go right to the subway, if anything?
Yeah, surely.
They go to the Daily Bugle. They
completely
break in.
Random office, to try and find some weird conspiracy chart. Come on.
Yeah. And so in it, there's only one reason. It's because the book's called Predator versus Spider-Man. And they haven't really done much. Because the Skinner, that's quote unquote serial killer that's in the shadows that Peter hasn't really been able to do much with. So you get these three just there to fight Spider-Man. He ends up doing the classic where he pushes J. Jonah in the elevator and presses the button.
Though,
if you try to do that in real life, it ain't happening. The door's closed too. And even then, J. Jonah's at a point where he could just put his hand there and the door will not close, but I don't think he wants any parts of it. He's putting up a good show. He's going back to take a nap. But you end up where the predators are going through the offices and then find this conspiracy wall. And why would they even know that that's what it is? It's weird, but they do see the symbol. That's what they get then. And okay, well, then Peter comes in as Spider-Man and they fight. And I don't know that the idea of Peter fighting three predators, I struggled with this. The idea that Peter has fought tons of villains and tons of really kick-ass villains, but three predators and him not knowing.
But Jim, he's got so many questions. He just wants to sit down with him for an interview.
Yeah. He says, "Hey, let's talk." And these guys have axes and those crazy glaives. Yeah, those things. I don't know. I think Peter's dead. I hate to say, because a lot of times you kind of forget because of the quippy deal and that it's Peter Parker. You kind of do forget sometimes how crazy strong and able Spider-Man is. I don't know about three predators, though. It just seems
not with all the weaponry. Come on, man. How's he going to dodge all that?
And they're not going you could play the idea that a lot of the villains are going for the kill, but a lot of them are just fighting Spider-Man. These guys are going for the kill. I mean, they are completely trying to kill him. Peter's getting ripped apart at one point, but he ends up doing his quips and he ends up fighting Predator. Again, though, the quips don't go as well when you're fighting three predators. I don't know. He even says at one point, hey, you guys are pretty silent. Then takes the mask off the one and goes, oh, put that back. I've had a couple dates like that.
Ding.
It was me. They were putting the paper bag back on, by the way. But you end up where Craven has hardly been part of the story. And he's there.
Disappeared.
And suddenly New York City. And again, this is where I think Ben Percy realizes that people are going to be like, come on now, New York City. Pretty big. I don't know if you've been there, right? But pretty big city, right?
I haven't. Only through comic books.
It is.
Movies.
So if and power has gone out at times, 70s especially, but they're going to get it back on. This is New York City.
They named it twice.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys are up there, and I love the idea that what it's playing out is that the whole New York City is out of power, and there's just two guys.
With
on one
generator.
Building. Yeah, they're there and let's get this, turn this screw. We're back, baby. And Craven shoots it out. So there's no power still. Yeah, I actually thought, man, that'd be kind of a interesting play at the end to have the power back. It'll go back on in the last two pages.
We stay in the dark for now, New York.
Yeah. And he says, I love this. He says, if news gets out about what's actually happening here, then the Avengers will show up, right? News gets out. Half the Avengers, a lot, they're in New York City, first off. Then in the meantime, just having buildings blowing up, the Avengers will show up. They're going to check this out. The idea, it's not like the idea where they're sitting in Avengers Mountain. They're like, well, no news is good news. I mean, the idea that power is out in New York City would be the Avengers going right away to check it out, thinking, okay, is it just a regular power outage or is there something more to this? Somebody would be checking it out.
Totally.
But there's Kraven. It's just Kraven and Spider-Man.
Having a party?
Predators. Yeah, really. Oh, my goodness. They just ended up, wanting to conserve energy. So Kraven blows out the generator again, so it's still, dark. And then you do see, though, that Kraven's right, that the Predator, it's killing all these people. But in the meantime, it's also going to be going underground where he's going to go, but he doesn't go there yet.
Not only that, he's having to go at the zoo. He's killing the tiger,
man.
And zoo.
At one point, killing kids in a playground. Goodness. He doesn't care. He doesn't discriminate.
No one is safe.
Exactly. A predator, he doesn't see
Come
color.
on, I thought predators had some kind of code of honor, Jim. They hunt a worthy target, not a kid on a slide.
See, this is the thing. You actually backed into a compliment to Ben Percy. That's why those three are there. They're there because this predator has gone nuts and is killing everybody. That's why it's the honor and stuff. So they're going after it. So that makes sense, but it just didn't grab me. And when I'm reading it and then I see a tiger that the skeleton's just there, I'm like, all right, why would that lady just let that kid, like the mother takes the kid there? Wouldn't they have closed the exhibit? You know what I mean? Like this exhibit,
that kid's gone for life.
Oh my God! They're like, well, it's kind of like a museum now. It's a skeleton. We'll go with that. It's a skin type.
What about the joggers running through like Central Park and they go through the tunnel, the bridge, and there's a hanging dead body with no head or skin.
Yeah. Well, that's normal New York City.
Is that?
The thing is, almost everything, like there's so many problems in that Central Park. So you end up where, again, it looks like a serial killer. But when the serial killer starts skinning animals in the zoo, you got to wonder. But Spider-Man still, when he ends up, while he's fighting the predators, you end up having J. Jonah like go down in the street and you end up having the building blow up. The Daily Bugle ends up blowing up. His offices blow up. And he's like all upset about it. But he's saved by that stupid detective that he barely, like, she has nothing to do either. Like, nobody has anything to do in this book, it seems.
She literally came like the was it the Daily Planet? The Bugle blows up. There's a huge like piece of statue or something on the roof coming down to hit John Jameson, squash him flat. Suddenly, the detective dives out of nowhere and saves his life. She dives
out of nowhere and saves him and says, "Hey, you got to realize." Also, I love. She goes, "Have you ever asked yourself, Mr. Jameson, why trouble seems to follow Peter Parker wherever he goes?" I wanted J. Jonah to go, "How do you know that Peter's here? Yeah. Like, well, what's going on? You just showed up and dove and tackled me. You speared me here. It's like the Edge, the wrestler." In the meantime, there ain't no statue. We'll get to that because Mary Jane and this girl are down in the subway with this homeless guy. And he just like, be quiet. Got to get out of here. We got to be quiet. We're safe down here. We got to stay down here. And then you have what is usually the big predator thing is that help. Not just help, but it mimics things.
It mimics someone's voice. It's like apparently using a woman's voice, help me, help me.
Yeah, a lot of times, though, what I like is when it's commercials and things like that. It walks by a TV and the TV's like, "I'm Crazy Eddie." And then the next thing you know, it's just yelling that throughout. It always makes me giggle. But the help is to lure people in. But this homeless guy,
Lucky Charms.
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be great. Ready to do an Irish accent.
Oh, hey, my Lucky Charms. Hey, you end up where this homeless guy says, no, we're going to have to hide. He knows kind of how to hide. But again, you get a claustrophobic girl and shove her into a pit of rat. This is the worst. I wouldn't be able to do it. I would have been killed by the predator. I wouldn't jump into a whole pile of rats.
It's a floor of rats, isn't it, basically, Jim? They're fleeing, I guess they're fleeing the predator. And the homeless guy pushes Mary Jane and a new bestie into this sea of rats.
Into the rat, because that would cover up the heat signatures because
all
the rats.
Know that, this homeless guy?
This guy's pretty smart. He ends up saying he's also pretty dead.
Yeah.
Because he's taking too much time. He's helping them. I mean, you push them into the pool of rats. You got to jump in right away. But he doesn't. He ends up where the predator gets him and runs him through. I mean, just completely runs him through. And he says, "Stay down, stay safe." And the way that he says that as he's dying, somehow I think that's what the predator is going to start repeating in the final issue. He's just going to keep saying, "Stay down, stay safe," in a weird way. But Mary Jane and this guy, they seem, first off, when you jump into a pool of rats, close your mouth, for crying out loud. That's the one thing. Close your mouth.
Screaming and shouting. You swallow a few rats if you do that.
This is what you do. You close your mouth. You have one hand on your junk and one hand on your butthole. You don't need extracurricular activities going on with these rats. These things are animals.
Well, you end up seeing your eye, Jim. You got to close your eyes too.
Oh my God! I'm telling you, there's no way I'd be able to survive this. I would freak out so much unless Pizza Rat was there. If Pizza Rat was there, I'd share a piece of pizza with him. Do you remember Pizza Rat?
Do. Catwoman. No, that's ramen rat or ramen
that's
cat.
It. No, Pizza Rat's real. There was a big thing that went viral where there was a rat running around with a piece of pizza in the subway. It had a whole piece of pizza it was running around with. It's pretty good, Pizza Rat. I like the Pizza Rat. Not Pizza Dog either in Hawkeye. I thought
it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles character.
That people made jokes. It was like Splinter. He was taking down the pizza to them. But at the end, you end up where that thing that fell out of the Daily Bugle ends up being webbed up Predator without its mask, because Peter took the mask off and it looks horrible. So really what you did with Peter, what he legit did, if this is what he meant to do, he webbed up them, there's an explosion, maybe it just propelled it out. But if he knocked the you're just setting it up to come. The webbing only lasts like an hour anyway, but he's going to cut his ass out, and he does. So now we have J. Jonah and this detective where there's a predator ready to kill them. Detective LaPearl,
Jim.
Oh, LaPearl.
How could we forget?
Detective LaPearl, how the hell do you know Peter Parker's here? She's like, well, I'm kind of stalking. Remember, he was on the crime scene. It's just ridiculous. I think she shows up where there's all the trouble, but luckily she did. I don't know how she got. Why was she there? But in the meantime, it's just a weird book. It's fun to read and kind of goof on. I don't know. This should be something where it should be exciting. I don't really get that, right? And then
it should be Predator versus Spider-Man. That's what it's billed as, and you get a little bit of that, but not much.
Ben Percy ends up trying to make it a horror book. He wants to make it horror with a serial killer. It's not anywhere near being horror. Like, it is actually laughable that he thinks that you're going to be like, oh my God, this is the scariest thing I've ever witnessed. It's not. It's goofy. It's very goofy. And I just kind of, you get to the end and it's just, okay, I see. These three are going to go at one point. Craven, in my mind, Craven's going to end up going to kill any predator he can get a hold of. Spider-Man's going to realize that these three are there to take the Skinner away and will actually help the three to allow them to do that. That is my deal. And then somehow we'll have the story of the century or of all time of Alien and he'll bury it saying people are not ready for it. And then J. Jonah will be like, Parker, and he'll yell. And then maybe almost get killed, but LaPearl ends up saving him, but also falls in love with him. That's what really should happen by the end. And then they have a love affair that, and nobody can deny. But in the meantime, it's not great. It's not horrible, but it's just nothing. What would you give it?
I don't know. I feel a bit bad because I just like being taking the mickey out of the book because it was just so daft. It's clunky. It's all over the place. There's some nice action scenes at times, but
the art's okay.
The art is okay.
The art's pretty cool. It's times, right?
There's a few weird faces at the beginning, like Peter and Jonah, but it did get better. Who is it? It's Penciler's Marcelo Ferreira. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's okay, art.
Score, geez, it's difficult for me this year. I think I'm a 6. I'm a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm like a 5 or a 6. I'll go positive with you. 6. 6 has become the shrug my shoulders 6. I've talked about this before. Yeah. There's a lot of 6s. A lot of 6s don't make Jimmy excited during the week. I need some 8s.
Do a lot of 6s make the number of the beast, though. That's what Iron Maiden wants to know.
I'd rather listen to Iron Maiden right now.
I would right now.
We will continue on. I was never big on Iron Maiden as a kid. I like them a lot more now. I've grown to respect them.
I went through a big phase when I was like buying me old cassette tapes, albums back in the day. I was buying them all.
Did you have like a jean jacket with Eddie on the back? You were all cool going around.
Had one really good denim jacket with all the patches.
Yeah, and it definitely smelled like pot. There's no doubt in my mind, correct? No. They always did. I'm telling you, when you buy a denim jacket, the minute that you put on like an Iron Maiden, Judas Priest patches on it, it just suddenly starts smelling like marijuana. You don't even have to actually smoke it. It just does that naturally. It's what happens in the wild. But it's here we are.
With that, Jim, though. Like one summer, we were on a family holiday in France, and my brother almost got knifed for that denim jacket. Some French guy really wanted it.
Holy crap! That's like I went to this was in the late 80s, I think. I went. It was my first vacation.
Yeah.
First vacation I went on my own. Well, with some friends. We actually went to the Bahamas, and when we were there, I had a bunch of basketball jerseys. I had a Magic Johnson jersey, I had a Larry Bird jersey, and I had a Michael Jordan jersey. So I was like wearing those around. I don't know why. I guess that summer I was big on basketball jerseys. This one guy ended up seeing the Magic Johnson jersey the one time. This guy from the Bahamas, he was in the hotel, a worker, and he kept seeing me this and saying, "You're not leaving with that jersey." And and I'm telling you, it was like one of those where the guy's like, "Hey, man, you're not leaving with that jersey." I'm like, "Oh man, yeah." And he wasn't laughing. He stared at me. And my buddy Jay is like, "I think that guy's going to kill you. You better give him the jersey." I'm like, "I'm not giving this jersey. It was like $50. I ain't doing that."
Joking, man.
And so by the end, the jersey disappeared from our room. He stole the jersey, and then I saw him later.
You escaped with your life.
The best part of the story would have been that I saw him wearing the jersey later. I did not. This was like the day before we left. It went missing. I actually think that Jay might have grabbed it, went and gave it to the guy. That's what I think happened, but he might have stole it. The other thing, though, was I'm 5'8". This guy's like 6'3". That jersey ain't fitting him. I don't even know why. It was ridiculous, this guy. The Incredible Hulk, number 26. Speaking of which, these do seem, again, the cover looks like it would be a blacklight poster where you might be wearing a jean jacket that smells like prom.
Oh, yeah.
But it is the Incredible Hulk, as I said, number 26. Whew. Philip Kennedy Johnson writing, Kev Walker on art, Matthew Wilson on colors, VC's Corey Petit on letters. This is a book that, again, it's one of the better books at Marvel, but that is a low bar to clear. And I said all along, when you talk about the best books at Marvel, or if somebody says, "Hey, should I read these books? What should I read?" I probably would say, I don't know now. It's weird. It's starting to really, wear
You know what
thin,
I'd say for number one? You don't agree, but for number one right now, it's Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell.
Yeah, you would do
it's only
that.
a miniseries. That
and
is
then
number one.
Whoever you suggested that to would hate you for life. But the Incredible Hulk, it's one of those where everything is like, you have to have an asterisk to it. If I say, "Oh my God, you got to read the Incredible Hulk," but it is kind of a long-running story that gets a little convoluted and also deals more with Charlie.
It's happening, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so it's like one of those where I still like it, but I don't love it, and I also don't know that I'd recommend it anymore. Because, and again, people might say, but it is one of the best books at Marvel. But again, that
it is. There are a lot of fans of this book, yeah. And listen to this, Jim. The first two lines of dialogue, it's talking about Marvel Comics as a whole. It says, "Not enough. You weaklings are not enough."
So, and then it says, "The door will be open," and it's my door getting the hell out.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
So, again, this book isn't bad. It just ends up that you're waiting. This is the thing, though. I'm telling you, there are fans of Philip Kennedy Johnson. I think less at Marvel than at DC because the War World saga at DC. But in the meantime, even the most staunch fan, and that would be Dylan on the Aficionados, quite frankly, I think he would even have to admit, and he would say he likes it, but he has to admit that Philip Kennedy Johnson takes his time to tell a story. Right now, one of the better books at DC is Batman and Robin. His Batman and Robin. But really everybody who even likes it says this story is dragging on. This story has been dragging on for 26 issues.
26 issues. Is it a Hulk book, Jim, or is it a Charlie book? That's the question.
That's the thing. And is it a big enough story that you think it should take this long? And
it's the same old thing. It's like, I want to speak to Banner. Where's Banner? Banner's not here. It's Hulk. It's like, okay.
And then it points, Banner, I don't like Banner. I'd rather have Hulk. Hulk's a hero. It's the same thing over and over. And then when you get to this, you have to re-mention the idea of her father. And then it even looks like that might be him on the cover of next issue to kind of go full circle. But boy, full circle of over 2 years is way too long. And so you end up having Kev Walker on art. I'll tell you.
I think it is.
If you end up where you've read a bunch of indie things, whatever, Charlie looks like she just stepped out of the Grommets book. The Image book, and
hey, Gromit, where's your skateboard?
And Hulk looks like an old lady.
He does at one point. He looks maybe almost like stroke Neanderthal. You know.
Yeah. When Charlie says, "Don't you think that's cool?" Because she's feeding the animals and they're not scared anymore, and she says, "Oh, the normies, they're scared, but we have to be heroes. We can't be monsters." And I like that. I actually think that's a really cool idea. It's one of those where you play where when you go and your girlfriend, you meet her parents for the first time, and they have a dog. And you really hope the dog doesn't go nuts, because if it does, people get that idea. They're not a good soul. Old Scruffy ended up not liking them. And so you end up with this. It's like, well, if animals like you and are approaching you, you can't be a monster. And I think that I do like Charlie, not as the main character for the most part, but I do like Charlie, and I feel bad for her. And I like the idea that she's like trying to find some hope. The problem is she's with Hulk, who she kind of is changing a bit, but it's still the Hulk who, hope isn't in the equation a lot of times. So you end up where she says, we can't be that bad. I think we're good. He walks away.
He walks away, Jim, doesn't he? He goes off for a wander. I'm thinking, where's he going? Where does he go?
Yeah, he just stomps off. And then she talks to, little
what
Hulk
is this
buddy.
Meant to be?
It's just that little Hulk buddy that she's like almost like a therapy type doll. It's like, where did Hulk touch you? Show me. But she says, what's up, Hulk buddy? What do you think? Hulk. Like, you didn't help me, dude. But yeah, Hulk goes off because he ends up sensing, smelling.
He must sense like there's somebody like watching Bucky's them in the trees. Is Bucky, Jim? Yeah. Remember Bucky?
Yeah, I completely forgot that Bucky was in last issue. He did go to the Sanctum Sanctorum, which he does then say to Charlie, hey, I talked to Clea. She ended up, remember, he went there, and that's when we were like, we thought Clea was dead. But then suddenly she wasn't, because they were legit saying, like, we killed her. But, she's hard to take down, that Clea. I love Clea. I love Bucky. I love Winter Soldier so much. But in this, it just feels like what we're doing now.
They were looking for Bruce, by the way.
We're having guest star of the month. We had Thor last issue.
Last issue was Thor. 25. It was a good issue. As I told you, like I got hold of a physical copy because I love the art.
Yeah, the art was great.
Really.
So, and I think that having to do that big thing now, we have Kev Walker, and Kev Walker's okay. I like Kev Walker better than Danny Earls at one point. Danny Earls was no. So the whole play though is it's doing things that you usually do when a book is struggling. When you have all these guest stars, when you have all these things, that's usually the deal of, oh, God, the book is having a lot of problems. We got to get some more people. Bucky's big right now, so I can see it. But again, the story just seems to just drag on. Also, just to point out, too, nobody's reviewing this book anymore either.
No.
It's like reviews are far and few between. We're recording after an hour after the review embargo's up. There is not a review yet. And usually
nor for Spidey Predator either. Yeah. I was looking for a review for that. That's not even up yet.
And to explain to people why I bring this up is the idea where sites will usually review something. If people stop being interested in the review, and they don't click on it, the site stops reviewing it. But to me, that means the overall interest in the book is down. Because here's the thing. Last issue, a 25 with Thor, one review. The issue before one
That's
review.
Crazy.
Yeah, for the last two, there's been one review. Then there was 23 had two, 22 had one. And then you have two all the way down with ones mixed in down to like 17. Like it has been way over a half of a year since people have actually been reviewing this book. And when you do see user reviews for it, they're actually saying that this is being stretched out. It's just being stretched out. Remember, too, the idea, even the 24, where we said last issue was Thor, issue before, while it was just Clea, it still was a guest star of the deal because, they ended up going to Sanctum Sanctorum. So it just keeps being these guest stars now. But I mean, we're talking about this way because there's not much to talk about in this book.
There's not a lot of stories, Jim. What actually happens in this?
Bucky ends up where he uses these bullets. He says, I'm here to talk to you. I want to talk to Banner, really. But he came prepared. And so he even puts a time dilation deal in so Hulk can't kill him. Hulk's stuck in the slow-mo mode so he can talk to Charlie. And then Charlie, and you did have at the beginning, there was her backpack, I believe, is like a Captain America backpack. Was that what it was? But she then says that, like, all along, you think that she's the biggest fan of the Hulk. Now she goes, oh, by the way, I'm really the biggest fan of you. And I love you and Cap and this whole thing. And Bucky says, listen, you got to get away. You got to get out of here. This is bad. And then says, I talked to Clea. She says you backed into these powers. You have no clue of what they are. But he doesn't say, I can get you help here. He just says, get away from Hulk. You don't need Hulk. We need Banner. This is crazy. And and we know that it's crazy and that she kind of is this skinwalker type of, monster. But that just ends with Bucky saying, I'm going to leave. Then she says, I had some questions. He goes, good, comes back. They talk a bit again about, hey, Hulk is good. I think that he can do this, Banner, whatever, but Hulk is not a monster. And Bucky says, don't be around Hulk. Anybody around just Hulk ends up in a bad way. You got to find Banner. Get Banner. He'll be able to solve this for you. Sayonara, sucker, and then leaves. Like him leaving, like, why isn't he saying, come with me, Charlie. I'll take you to some people that I know. Black Widow and me will find you somebody. Maybe we can get you help. He just leaves. And so then Charlie is there and they're warming their hands on this fire. Hulk looks really like an old lady. And all of a sudden the fire kind of attacks her, but sends her into the void of the Hulk space, that Hulk hell. And she kind of walks through and Banner's yelling
they
for
call
her
it,
from
Jim.
the tower.
Charlie calls it the Hulkscape.
Yep, the Hulkscape. So she's there, and she's like, "Oh my God,
it's a trap."
Banner starts screaming, "Don't let him see you in here!" Now again, we've seen this in Thor. We've seen this in even the Immortal Hulk. This really is the stuff that feels like Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk stuff, and I don't know. It's not as clever as I think it needs to be, but you go and it's basically, what's going on. Hulk's a good guy. He's really a hero. And then the epiphany is, oh no, if Hulk's a good guy, why would he be treating Banner like this? Really? Like, this isn't what you thought. When you get into the Hulkscape, I think you might realize, oh crap, Banner is a prisoner here. But would that shock you the way Hulk is? It wouldn't shock me. But she's like, oh my God. And then Hulk kind of comes and sends her out, which then triggers her to turn into this crazy, I'd like to say a wolf man, but it's not.
It's like,
but I do
didn't the same thing happen last issue,
Yeah,
Jim?
yeah,
We're just repeating the same thing, aren't we?
And then
like a weird, like, demon form.
This is that whole like skin deal, and when she did turn, supposedly you die after a day. There was all that stuff thrown in. Again, she flies off.
She said the same thing last issue. We're the good guys, okay? In a weird, like, demon form.
That's all she keeps saying. So she just says, I don't want to be like them. And, at one point, you did have Hulk yelling that Bucky must be with the eldest. All these things are just, again, they're concepts that just keep being mentioned, but nothing done about it. And it just keeps going. At least Charlie is not a chalk freaking statue. Like, we had all this stuff, but now she's this. And it's always just something for Banner to be upset or Hulk to be upset about. Yeah. And it says next Hulk is Hulk, and he's going to go
Hulk is Hulk, Jim. Guess what? Hulk is Hulk.
Man, and on the cover, really, it looks like her dad. So I don't know if that's going to be in the Scape, if it's the regular, if they're coming together. I don't know. But again, Bucky shows up, does nothing really, but kind of gives exposition.
Almost gets killed
Charlie
by Hulk at one point. Hulk picks him up. He's got him in his huge face. Look at that.
He's going to need more arms.
Like, he could easily break off his head, but he doesn't.
So, and again, Bucky's there to remind us and tell Charlie, you can't. Hulk by himself is a monster. You need them together. They're a team, and it's again. Here's the cool play of it, if there is. The whole overall vibe is there's Cap and Bucky. They're a team. But at times they got to separate. There's trouble, Winter Soldier stuff, whatever. But they are a team. You have, Charlie and Hulk are a team, but you might have to separate, whatever. But the big thing is Hulk and Banner are a team, and they are separated, and shit is going wrong. So they have to get back together. It's the idea of teams and friendship and this crazy thing we call life. Is what
I thought you would say love that and start singing Freddie Mercury.
Life, American style. But I'm gonna go write a song now. But yeah, it's just it's what it is. I mean,
it's
at a
like,
point.
Like the last issue about Predator Spidey, it's not like it's not bad, but there's not enough happening, Jim, for me. There's not enough story. It's just kind of repeating the same beats, isn't it?
Yeah, and I want to actually tell people, I don't mind this issue. I think as an issue, it's okay. I like Bucky. I like her finding out things about, you got to go away from Hulk, but she trusts Hulk. And I do like her with the animals at the beginning. Why I'm going through this and seem angry, it's more frustration. I'm frustrated because it's a book that I think is good, but is kind of meandering around to make it not so good.
It is. It's meandering.
I think that we may, I don't know. Are we going to end at 30? Is it going to go, are we going to do this Charlie story all the way to 50? And if we don't, like, what do you do now? I said before where you have a mini, or you have an arc, and then you go to the next arc, and you might say, oh, man, I wish we had more of that last arc. But you move on, you see. But when you have 2 arcs, 3 arcs, 4 arcs, the book just becomes this. Like, it ends up where if you end up, the Charlie story ends next issue, it will feel weird for this book to then change into something else because it's been this for so damn long. But we still have to fight the Ellis. Like, you really have some big things that have been hinted at since issue 1. And we're at 26, and it doesn't feel like we're getting closer. It feels at times we're getting further away from things. And that's what frustrates me so much, because I think the art, when it's Nick Klein especially, is great. Superb, as they say in New York City. And the idea of that, no. But you end up where you have the Hulk people, I don't know. It's just stuck in a rut. It feels like it's stuck in mud, and you're trying to, like, get out of it. But I don't know. What would you give it?
It's like the Littlest Hobo, like the same story. Each issue, it's doing the same thing. They wander around, they find some people, and they talk about Banner and Hulk being
Charlie
together.
Says they're heroes, that they're not monsters.
We're not monsters. She turns into a monster, and then she is a monster,
and then leaves, and then he's got to find her. The best would be if she just flies back to Vegas. Let's just start it all around. We'll go back to Vegas. We'll do that stuff. And maybe it could be Joe Fix-It for a couple issues. It'd be cool.
Could do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But
I thought you said Jim then. Don't talk about Jim or Fix-It. For a score, let's see. Again, it's the same as last issue. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't very, very good. I'm a plain 6 out of 10.
I'll go 6.5.
Disappointing, Jim.
Yeah, it is. It's odd. I'm looking at the cover. That guy got really big kneecaps. Things. What has he got? Knee pads on? What's he doing?
The cover, like, at one point, I thought, what's going on with Hulk? Like, Hulk's nose is like snot pouring out. It's like, it's like it's roots or branches of trees, isn't it? Yeah. And he's got Frankenstein monster's nails in his head.
Look at
what's going on?
Deal. Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Nice colors.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, that's in that. I wouldn't go into that tunnel. Right? That looks like such a cool, like a horror comic cover. That is
does.
Like, I would actually probably get that as a print. It looks really,
it does look really cool. But then you get into the issue. It's like, although there are people that say, they do like Kev Walker's style, it's got a very different style. He's no Nick Klein.
It's a little more cartoony.
It is,
in my mind.
It is,
but it's fine. And the scene that you really see it is, we kind of said the grommets deal, but it is that first scene. You want to show Charlie as kind of like, remind us that she's a cute little girl and she's in over her head, kind of. I would have made her look a little younger there to make her look really like, oh man, you kind of forget that Charlie is just a little girl who had some problems at home. She mentions it to Bucky. Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully, you really just want her to be able to just destroy her dad, but they don't do that in books anymore. She'll end up forgiving him, and then maybe actually it would be great.
I don't know, Jim. These days, like the bad dad trope is a common thing, isn't it?
It is,
not just comics, in movies and TV, everything.
What I hope is that they claim, well, Banner is in the Hulkscape. Somebody has to replace him. And the dad does, and he gets tortured for eternity. That'd be awesome. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe that'll happen in this roller coaster we call life. But we probably will go off to some more books. We actually have an idea that we might end up talking some. These were going to be the only books that we talked about. Not realizing between us that, Ultimate Spider-Man, which you really like. I'm saying this, really we might be reviewing it next and maybe even
hope so.
But we'll see. We shall see. But for now, we'll go to whatever is next. And we are going to continue. We're going to continue with The Ultimate Spider-Man, number 18. You convinced me to do this book. You said it was a banger, just like Jenny. Exactly. So we're here, Ultimate Spider-Man number 18, written by Jonathan Hickman, art by Marco Cicchetto, colors by Eric Arcianega, letters by VC's Corey Petit. And yeah, there's actually some pretty good action in this. We see Spider-Man actually do some Spider-Man things in a crazy
way. Maybe Gabe will be happy, Jim, with this.
Yeah,
he's been complaining about that for like issue after issue.
We haven't seen it in a while.
Spider-Man?
And I do like May. The idea of this book being, oh my God, it's so great because we get the family and the problem is you don't really do much. I mean, the biggest complaint with these books it's the pacing, the idea where we haven't even talked about Ultimate Spider-Man for an issue or so. Me and you, I think, are the ones picking it up now. Matt seems like he's done.
I thought you were doing it with someone else. Yeah, I thought it was Matt.
Yeah, it was Matt. And then I think me and you did the last two, but I don't even know that we did the last issue. Yeah, I think we did like one issue. But in that, we're back because, this one's pretty good. And this book doesn't get affected as much with that monthly schedule, that whole, I'm saying in the book, like June happens June.
Yeah, 2025.
In the Ultimate X-Men, that just kills like almost every momentum going on. So you have this, but again, I think that might have been the worst take of all of it. I wish they didn't do that. I wish organically you just tell stories because again, if it was the idea that, oh my God, 18 important things happened in June and nothing much happened in July, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just when they get to the Maker. I know you want to keep saying the only reason they did it is so you can say 6 months till the Maker returns, 5 months till the Maker returns. You could just have that at the end to let everybody know inside the book. Maybe this book, because some of the books, they're not really connected that much anyway. It feels. So why does it matter? And it just, I don't know, it just takes away some of the cliffhangers. It takes away some of the things going. Now, Hickman himself tried to finagle the system by making, one issue end on December 31st, and then the next one's, January 2nd. So only a couple days went, but still, this month thing drives me nuts. But in this, you end up having Harry, go and get Peter. The war is on, and we'll see even more with the Mysterios. But when he comes in, Harry flies his plane into this crazy Winnebago City.
A private jet, Jim? What do you reckon? Is it Harry Osborn's private jet?
Exactly. I wish I had Greta's thing. She'd be very upset with the deal. But he comes in, and it's nice. Him and Peter say hello. Him and Mary Jane, they just
it's a nice
say hello
reunion,
to each other.
Isn't it, Jim? Look at Peter giving him a hug. Isn't that sweet?
I know, yeah. And then give him side eye when he gets a little too comfortable with Mary Jane. So he ends up where he's like, "Hey, did you bring any?" Or Mary Jane says, "Did you bring babysitters with you?" So you get Ben and J. Jonah. It's one of the fewer issues that you get everybody that
our favorite
like,
duo, Jim. Yeah, Ben
in the
and
deal.
Jonah.
So
bring it on.
So they come out. Swear to God, they like. I don't know if they're having a bromance here, but the one point when J. Jonah's like, "Hey, enough better for me because now I get the whole bed." I'm like, whoa, settle down there, Tiger. But they end up there, and it's nice. And I thought there was going to be a little more of a reunion deal with Peter and Ben, but it's nice. But he has to go off. They're going off to fight.
They're on a mission back to New York, aren't they? And I love the scene where you got Mary Jane giving Peter a hug.
Yeah, it's
nice
this
to
is
see,
kind of
you don't see that in Amazing, do you?
In this issue at the beginning here, this is kind of what I've wanted for half a year in this going. And then when we get some Spider-Man action, even again, I have said, and people, I hope have heard the idea that I said throughout the whole series, you should have had cold opens or spread pages where you had Spider-Man just doing random things.
Exactly.
He could be punching out somebody, then getting a cat out of a tree, sitting, whatever it would be, but show him doing Spider-Man things. So when we get to this point, we say, okay, he's progressed. He's become Spider-Man.
Even just like 2 or 3 pages. That's all you need, didn't you? Every issue.
That's all you needed every issue.
Okay, maybe 1 or 2 is focused on him, but we've hardly had that. It's weird.
No,
it's been weird.
With you and a bunch of other people, one of the first things they say about this issue, which is pretty big, you get some reveals, but the big thing is the Spider-Man does some Spider-Man things, and it's just the spread page of just goofy stuff. Poor Shocker can't get a break. That guy keeps getting punched out wherever he shows up. When they go, and even having Ben with May in the background and Mary. It's just nice. And you do have Jay Jonah loves Richard so much because Richard's the only one who just sits and listens to his bull crap.
He's the one who read his autobiography in it.
Yeah, like 8 times. He's like, "Where's Richard?" He's back. He's kind of upset. He can't go with him.
He's not happy. He wants to go with him. Yeah.
And that's the cool line when they're like, what do you mean go with you? Like, why would he do that? And he's like, well, I can't reveal it. He wants to tell you in person. It's going to be that he has the Venom suit on, the AI suit. So they're going to go off. Unfortunately, Richard is not going to be there. And that's one of the bigger things. And another thing that I said, the minute that Richard put on that suit, I said, he is in big trouble. And by the end of this issue, he's in big trouble. We'll see. But you end up where, Peter and Harry are there and you have, Harry going. And I'm telling you, you don't need Harry to go, she's a good woman, Peter. I'm like, you watch it. Another side-eye glance. But you end up where he says, where's Gwen? And he just looks at Peter because obviously since this whole thing and since Peter has gone undercover kind of on the Lamb deal, Harry's found
He's
out
missed all that big reveal, hasn't he?
Yeah. So we go to the Council of Mysterios.
Plural.
And at first reading it, I thought, man, this section is a little too long, but you get some reveals. And the biggest one is one of the Mysterios is Vanessa Fisk.
The fifth member, as far as we know, it is Kingpin's wife, Jim.
Yeah,
can you believe it? So
crazy.
We've got Wesley already, like Kingpin's right-hand man, and now we've got Vanessa. Yep. That's a strong connection to Kingpin. Can we trust them?
I think you can. I mean, this Mysterio deal, if this was just people hanging, I would say, but this is like an order, like, a long-standing mysterious order that seems to be bigger than what, just a normal thing. So I think that you can go with it. It's like the Stonecutters in The Simpsons, you're going to follow it. And so I think that the issue is that they want to, obviously they're going to go to war. They want to get the world back to what it was. In the meantime, I don't know, like if it ends up getting back, say it just gets back to what it was, which would be the 616 kind of deal. Kingpin's still in, they might be going with the idea that I think Kingpin has more power if they end up taking down the Maker, because he's just one of the many under the Maker, when Kingpin should be more. So I think that may reveal itself at one point saying, Kingpin may say to Vanessa and Wesley, why did you betray me? And like, we're not betraying you. We're getting what's rightfully yours. And that might be the issue. That might be pretty cool. What
do you think about their kind of like mantra thing where they say, you got Vanessa saying it near the end, are we truly committed? Do we believe the words? The world is a lie. Only through embracing those lies can we become a master of what we see.
It's pretty cool.
Bizarre, isn't it?
And again, in a way, you have to have the secret coven craziness that's actually seeing through the Maker's lies. So that's pretty cool. And it's cool. It seems like a Templars type thing, or it seems like, all those sort of things.
The stonemasons, as you said, the stonemasons. Yeah, the Masons.
So the idea that the world was changed by the Maker and it was changed in like 63, they're beyond that. And I think that also the idea, it's kind of a cool play. I mean, it really is. Mysterio deals on lies and deals on, making you believe things aren't real or real. And I think that's why they're playing, they can cut through that and they can see, and this order probably ends up having things. And maybe the big play too is that the Maker didn't really realize that this was an organization type thing, or it feels more like a religion kind of deal. But the idea that they are able to see, actually, we'll go with cult. But it's really cool when you get that last reveal with Vanessa, because you end up where Quinn's pissed off. Everybody's really pissed out, and they're saying like Gwen stepped up the game too quick. And here's the thing: she says, well, I had to do it eventually. And I once I did it, I felt embarrassed that we didn't do it before. Well, listen here, Quentin, you ain't got much time left. I mean, you would expect that maybe you want to do this before the Maker comes back, but maybe their play was when why wait for the Maker to come back to then do the attack? Why not do something that when he comes back, he's less than?
What do you think? He comes out of that stupid the Ultimate Universe version of Gwen, she's pretty gung ho. She's like action first, isn't she? Okay,
she is.
Enough
she's
talk.
Pretty tough,
Let's
right?
do it. Let's take care of it.
I like her. And so when they're going, Robbie, again, I like the way that Hickman plays out the individual like character work because it kind of works. Quentin, who we know in the 616, is Mysterio, but in Robbie's like a nice guy, whatever. Vanessa at the end feels like she's just conniving as well as Wesley.
Cool. She's calm and relaxed, but it's Wesley the one I got worried about. Wesley's the wild card. He's the one who's really angry with Gwen, you've ruined everything.
Really pissed. And he ends up screaming and saying, like we said, you're doing these things ahead of time. And she's like, no. I'm doing it. I had to do it. And he's like, oh, you just did it because somebody had to act. She says, yeah, I like that she actually says, yeah, it was because of that as well. But now I'm glad. And Vanessa says, don't worry. I'm with her. This is how it should be done. It's war. Let's go. We don't need cowards. Let's go, Jim. Go. Yeah. And then she says, and off we go. And looks pretty cool. Even that, like at the end, it is that like we are Mysterio, and it's a cool thing. I didn't like it at first. I didn't quite love the idea of this Mysterio Council kind of thing. I think it's working out more and more. I like seeing more of it, though. At first, like I said, I thought, man, that was a little too long, but now it works out, especially when you go back, because you go back and
it's crazy. It's interesting, but I don't know, Jim.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah,
the shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, it is
at one point. So I don't expect many of these people to live. So we're gonna see, and I would guess Gwen will probably die. I mean, that's just the classic. So you end up where Peter and Harry are in New York, and Peter says, man, I miss this place. You want to go get some bad guys. Shocker gets punched.
It's good to be back.
And you just get things. You get it's cool, though. You see, this is what we needed. And it's so
we missed
easy.
We missed some classic villains. Right? We got Frankenstein there. We got Vermin.
We got Vermin. Looks crazy. I hate Vermin. And it almost plays off, if you look, it does look like almost like Universal Monsters being attacked throughout.
It does, yeah. So it's a great double page spread.
I'm guessing that's like this version of Tombstone is what it looks like.
It's how it's meant to be.
Or Hammerhead or something.
Oh, God,
Well,
Hammerhead goes into it.
Yeah,
so I'm getting mixed up.
Those stitches.
That's the thing I'm talking about.
It is Hammerhead. Now that I look, the stitches, though, again, 2 bolts from being freaking Frankenstein. So he ends up where it's fun. I mean, that's a cool page. And one thing about not doing it with Dr. Matt, he'll hear this, but he doesn't like Cicchetto's art at all.
Yeah, he said that the whole time.
This looks cool.
I
think that this page, I think even he would like this page, but you end up where they do that, and then they go back, and Peter says, I want to swing by my apartment, and you see the tentacles right away, right?
Oh my God, what's happened here?
And it looks at first that I think that they do such a good job where it does look like it was ransacked.
It does look like it's been trashed. Right?
Yeah. Until you look at it and realize that there's just who orders a pizza?
Empty beer cans, pizza boxes.
I mean, seriously, he ordered a pizza. They're in New York City, and it looks like he might have eaten 3 slices and left the rest just sitting there. Then looks like he has a personal pan pizza right next to it. Then he ends up having Chinese. I'm like, what are you doing? It looks like he's just ordering food and not eating it. He has another pizza box with a slice.
It's pretty cool to be, we talked about the art in a lot of these Marvel comics these days. Like, there's no background, there's nothing. Look at the detail here, Jim.
Yeah, even good. I like the way he does the webbing.
It's really good
too. Yeah, look at all this pizza.
It's unbelievable.
He's going to be so angry.
I want a piece. I'm getting hungry.
I am. I'm telling you, I'm on a keto diet for now over 2 months, maybe.
Oh God, you can't have bread.
I just desperately want to have a pizza. I have actually thought of a deal where it's a weird kind of thing of a certain weight, but I didn't do this to lose weight. I want to get in shape.
How long are you going to do it for, Jim? You can take a break, can't you?
Well, this is the thing. My birthday's coming up, and I think on my birthday I'm going to have a day off, and I might order like 6 pizzas.
Just going to go for it. You're going to go crazy.
I ain't pizzas around. like Otto.
Drowning in pizza.
That pizza because dough. This is Otto. Otto is there. And you have kind of a roundabout explanation of why is he here? How did he get here? And it was the idea that at first Harry had those protocols that Peter did not allow Otto to know where he lived or his phone number. So he ended up where the protocols weren't in place. Well, after what happened, Harry put them in place and actually went above Peter and said, this is where he lives. Put the protocols there.
Please put security protocols
now, in the meantime,
there.
Peter and the family left. But when he ended up, he's like, well, I put the protocols in and, I just decided to stay. In the meantime, he was fired by Gwen.
I'm wearing your slippers, Peter.
Yeah, so the idea where I think he just needs somewhere to stay.
He does,
he's
like
the slippers. I mean, if he was wearing his, trunks there, I'd have a little more issue. I don't know about slippers.
Yeah, so Jim,
I like that he's just walking around in the house and he gets webbed to the wall. And again, he's not doing anything bad. He ends up and really, to me, what this is to tell you that the protocols are at the house now. There are the protocols in the house.
Security measures are installed thanks to Otto.
Yep. So you have that. Now that may end up being something that saves Richard in his situation. I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah. We'll have to see what's going on. Also, it does show you, too, that if for some reason Otto gets pissed off, because they are treating him like shit, if he gets pissed off, the protocols will not attack him as well. If at some point he went to attack the family at the house because he installed them and he's there. So obviously they're not set to hurt him. But that's where, Harry and Peter go up. They still discuss this. And Peter says, you made the right decision. I can't be mad at it. Now,
he starts thanking him, doesn't he? Like, it was the right call, Harry. Good decision, because it's one thing I've learned. I can only do my job the way it needs to be done if I know my family is safe. Jim is like dangerous, isn't it? Dangerous, famous last words.
Yeah, really, because we go back to the, Winnebago City here in the desert, and we see that Richard has, he hitchhiked with him.
He
gone. Jumped on the plane.
Left a note for Mom.
The Venom suit acting a lot like the what's it called, Miles Morales as well. It goes invisible and he jumps.
Right, that's one of his things, isn't it? Yeah.
So he jumps in the plane and stows away because he's been talking to Black Cat. He's been talking to Felicia, and so when he goes to meet her again, I thought at first it was going to be that Richard ends up just tagging along and watching in the background with Harry and Peter, and then suddenly. He'll jump in
text him like, look, I'm in trouble. I need your help. Yeah, come on. He's a teenager, Jim. His hormones are like raging. She's hot as heck.
Yeah.
He can't say no.
He goes. Come on. He goes off, and it's a trap. He goes there, and she's like, hey, and says, oh, man, I'm really happy to see you. And then you see Fisk there. And
not as happy
as me. So, I mean, here's a couple things, too. Like, I would assume that Kingpin is 100% evil. He's on the Maker's Council, all that. Or, with Wesley and Vanessa, who knows? Maybe he's on the side where I don't think so. I think that he's full out. But maybe his play would be that we have to do things as they are. Maybe with Vanessa and Wesley, something at the end will be a twist. But in the meantime, Peter and Harry and now they're messing it up. Like, you can't mess this up. We have this plan. I don't know. We'll see. But he says, I don't want to hurt you. I need to know, I can tell it's funny where he goes, I think that you might have something to do with Spider-Man. I wish that Richard actually said, where did you get that? Like, hey, Captain Obvious. Like, I wish there was a little going on. But in the meantime, the Venom suit, the AI suit said, do not do this, like when they were going. So it starts to react.
And he gives a threat, doesn't he, Jim? One way or another,
you're going to give
the information or
the
give
suit
him
is pretty crazy. So, you could end up where we think, oh, my God, you're trapped in with them, but they're trapped in with him. The idea where maybe the Venom suit just goes nuts. But
come on, I think he'll be okay. I think he's going to be all right because of the Venom suit, like you say. Surely it can keep him safe. He can get him out of there.
I hope that he just gets out. But you do have guards everywhere. You have, all these deals going on. You have Bullseyes.
You got the Black Cat Senior there.
Black Cat
Mr.
Senior.
Black Cat.
What's he going to do? Sit on you?
Meow.
He's in that chair.
Scratch him.
He's in the chair. But you end up where Richard then says to Felicia, then why would you do this? And she says, isn't it obvious? It's my nature. I'm like, okay, bitch. I'd be so angry right now at her. But that's a crazy cliffhanger. Now, again, this is the thing. This happens in June. The next issue is July.
Yep.
So do we end up where we just skip a fight and Richard is imprisoned? Because that kind of happened when Kraven grabbed Harry and Peter, where we didn't know. And then all of a sudden it's like, 3 months later. So I wish, again, that this monthly deal, or is this happening on June 30th and we start at July 1st, like we, have it, the big play. But that's the thing that always bothers me about that.
I think it can work for
skip.
this title, Jim, but like you were saying earlier, it doesn't work for Ultimate X-Men because that feels like, it's happening like a day-by-day thing. The whole month thing just, I don't know.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we want to see a fight. I don't know how you see a fight. I don't know how you see it because days, if not weeks, are going to pass before the next issue. So we may end up, the only way you end up like, man, that was a fight, and replay it. Like, man, I can't believe you did that.
That's what I want to see. Like you say, I want to see Richard and the suit, like trying to get out of that.
See what's going on. So
reaction.
He may play a crazy deal like Hickman would, where you get next issue and we don't even know what happened.
Yeah,
like, we don't.
He probably will do that. Yeah, we'll go somewhere else. We're not with like good. Ben and Jonah.
Exactly. So it's pretty good. Now, again, you may have the idea that he does kind of grab Richard, the suit dissipates and goes off to find Peter. You can have a bunch of things happen, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it was a pretty good issue, right?
It is. I loved it. Really enjoyed it. It's like a return to form for me. It's the best issue in a while. Yeah, as I say, banger, Jim. It's a banger. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'll go 8.5 as well. I'd almost go a little high. It's really good.
I think it progresses the story really well. Like, we get some much needed action. At last, we see Spider-Man, doing things, fighting, and it ends on a massive cliffhanger.
And legit, if you haven't been reading for a while, I mean, there are some things. Gwen is one of the Mysterios. Richard has the black suit. But these things have been going on for quite some time. Like, if you've missed a couple issues or you were done, you can jump into this and you don't even have to
come back in with this issue.
You could just come in because, and that kind of shows the progression hasn't been great, but this one actually has a lot of things that I think people want and will enjoy. So I'm 8.5 as well. But that is it. That is it for the show. So thank you for joining me, Gray. Thanks, Matt, for joining me at the beginning. And we're going to get out of here, but please check out all the links in the description, in the show notes of this show. A lot of Weird Science links. And with that, we will get out of here and play your song, Greg, because we're ending with you. So we'll talk to you all.
Let's go.
Later.
"私はもう本性の愛です」「私にからかわないでください」「そうしないとあなたは消えてしまいます」「私は普通の男です」「でも私はあなたを殺します」「だからそのまま受け取って